On the show this week, we have Dilip Puri, Regional Vice President, South Asia, Starwood Hotels.
For the first time in their manifesto, Prime Minister Modi talked about tourism as one of the 5 pillars of development. That's never happened before. So for us, that's great sentiment.
In news, Chris Cook wins the Deutsche Bank Championship. And Fred Couples wins the Champions Tour's Shaw Charity Classic.
Fantastic to you.
I like that.
Welcome to the show, Dilip. Always
Thank
such
you.
a pleasure talking to you.
Nice to be here.
Thank you for inviting us to the DLF Golf and Country Club, your home club, of course.
Indeed.
So you tee off at 5 in the morning every day before you go to work, whenever you're in Delhi.
Yeah, so I'm in Delhi about 8
How
to
do you
10 days a
manage?
month. And I wouldn't wake up for anything else except for golf. I just love the game so much, and I know I don't have time to play otherwise.
Yeah.
So I like to play early mornings, and then I find that there's a kind of a spring in my step when I get to office the day I've played golf. So it just works really well for me.
Of course, there are things that push us out of bed, and for you, this is one of those things, isn't it?
It is.
Of course. Let's talk about the hospitality sector now. The market sentiment really suggests that hospitality as a sector was quite neglected in the budget, and it somewhat came as a damp squib in many ways than one, excuse me. What do you have to say about that?
You know, it's all about expectations, and the expectation shouldn't be that are they giving tax ops or are they kind of suddenly improving something.
Right.
I've always had the belief that the government needs to be a facilitator for tourism.
Right.
It's not required to invest. There
Right.
will be enough private capital available to develop tourism products, including hotels. The government has to resource infrastructure.
Correct.
The government has to provide connectivity, accessibility. So when you read about budget announcements of the whole road sector now again taking off, that improves connectivity. You talk about AirAsia coming in, the Tata Singapore Airlines coming in, that gives connectivity.
Connectivity, correct.
So those kind of announcements are what are great for the hotel industry.
Right.
Yes, sure, if you could have seen some improved taxation, it would have been good. But I think what I really like about this budget is that they clearly don't want to be populist. They can't afford to be populist.
Right.
And it's better to swallow the bitter pills early on than just have it continue. So from that perspective, I was fairly encouraged with the budget, actually.
Aren't you worried about the double taxation that the hospitality sector is currently paying at the moment?
So there, I don't think we are any different from many other sectors. I think
Right.
that is something which requires more systemic changes
Sure.
in the way our country's monetary trade policies run. I didn't have any expectations of seeing something there immediately, but I'd like to believe that the finance minister is very cognizant of the need to rationalize double taxation agreements as well.
And now with the BJP coming into power, their added focus on infrastructure, of course, augurs well for your sector. for sure.
Totally. In fact, infrastructure clearly, but for the first time in their manifesto,
Right.
Prime Minister Modi talked about tourism as one of the 5 pillars of development.
I agree.
That's never
Yes,
happened
yes,
before.
absolutely.
So for us, that's great sentiment.
Sure.
And sentiment in our business often drives business to us.
Sure.
So the sentiment is positive. We're beginning to see great travel. July, which is the start of the second half of the year, we're kind of tracking better than last year. And the rest of the year, for at least the hospitality industry, based on the sentiments and the positivity,
Right.
we're going to see, I believe, a much better second half than we saw in 2013.
All right, on that note, let me tee off and we continue discussing. Come. Nice
shot.
Thank you. So now, Dilip, now, you generally take 4 years to build a hotel in India that you would otherwise take 2 years to build in China. And it's obviously evident that there are several impediments along the way that you go through because it takes longer time to build a hotel here. What are these impediments and how can we really expedite this process now here in this country?
So in my experience, there are 3 fundamental things which impact the timing and cost of a project.
Right.
The first is the closure of financing and the cash flow availability itself.
Right.
Too often in the past, many developers start off saying, oh, we'll manage.
Right.
And then find it very tough to close out a project because, cost of capital becomes more expensive, delays are causing more cost. The second big factor is the whole external environment, which is the regulatory environment, the statutory environment, the number of licenses, permits. It's improved a bit.
Right.
But there's still a long way to go.
Sure.
And the third one is many times the first-time hotel owners who don't understand the business really well, decisions in design, execution keep changing.
Correct.
Those cause delays. So these are the 3 critical reasons why we're not able to build as fast as, let's say, China is. Of these, as financing costs become cheaper, as developers get smarter in the way they would structure and finance their projects, as the government does more with the whole single window clearances options, I think this period will start compressing. And I'd like to believe that there will come a day sooner rather than later where Indian hoteliers can build hotels in 18 months to 2 years as well.
Is it on the green?
Just at the edge.
Just a little off, right? Where we really left off was talking about how real estate developers find it easier to build hotels than established hotel chains. Is it because they know the lay of the land better, they understand regulation better? And what is your take really on having common regulations across the country as far as real estate is concerned?
Yeah, so 2 parts to that question. I mean,
Right.
are real estate players better as hotel developers?
Absolutely.
Clearly they are. And clearly it's principally for the reason you're saying, which is where it's such a regional game
Right.
that in India, barring maybe DLF and a couple of others, there aren't any pan-India big real estate developers.
Correct.
Each one's our strengths in the west, in the south, in the north, and they are our partners.
Right.
So we go looking in South India, be it Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, and we have multiple partners. We have real estate owners who are doing 2, 3, 4 hotels with us.
Sure.
We have a similar kind of anchor partner for Delhi, for Mumbai. So real estate is a regional game, and therefore development of hotels follows that same model.
Sure.
Should there be similar regulations in different parts of India? Of course there should be. As we move towards regimes like a GST, where there's a common tax
Correct.
code across states, huge benefit for hospitality.
So a single window clearance is really required and common land laws are really required
Yeah.
for hotel chains like you to come up and start developing as well with much ease,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And single window clearances, just to clarify, it's not that you go to one office and you get all your licenses. But as we reform land laws,
Right.
as we reform labor laws, we'll begin to see that there will be no need for certain permits and licenses which are required today.
Correct.
So it's not that the government is going to set up one division and everybody goes there and gets their approval. It doesn't work like that because there are several sectors involved in this. But can they make it easier? Can they make it simpler? Can they do more stuff online? Can they use technology to facilitate how quickly they can give approvals? Can the Environment Ministry work better with the other ministries involved? I think that's where the government has to move. And again, lots of positive signs. The fact that we've got single ministers covering,
Right.
ministries which have some commonalities, that's great stuff.
Sure. Now your strategy really has been on focusing on not investing in real estate, rather investing more in the people rather than investing more in their training, in management. Why so?
So the first reason is that we actually find that most of our partners, they don't want our money. What they're really looking for is the expertise we bring in with our brand, with our distribution, with our technologies, with our infrastructure. That costs money.
Right.
So many of the partners we work with, the question they ask me is, how much more are you investing in your brands, in your technology? What new stuff are you doing?
Right.
Very rarely does somebody say, invest equity with me. And there's a very interesting reason for it. The kind of compliance requirements which global companies like Starwood have, it's often not in the real estate partner's interest to want to have us invested into the real estate piece.
Sure.
So we would happily invest more and more money, and we will continue to invest as we grow our brands.
Correct.
But the need to invest in real estate for an emerging market like India, I don't think that's required. And hopefully, as other costs of financing become easier on developers, this need will become less acute.
Let's talk about your marketing strategy a little bit. You have constantly been talking about developing some sort of an emotional connect with your consumers. Now, how does a hotel really develop that emotional connect?
So I think it's about firstly understanding the demographics of your customers. The reality is that when we look at India's demographics, we are a very young country.
Right.
And it's the people below the age of 40 who are today doing most of the travel.
Right.
Who are the ones who are beginning to use more and more social media and technology to decide on travel,
right.
to decide on hotels. And for us, we were amongst the first off the block to recognize what digital marketing and what social media can do to bring us closer to our customers. And we, in fact, are very proud that we're one of globally preferred partners of the big boys like Google, who look at us as a traditional company and say that that's a company which understands how to use social media better.
Right.
Than its competitors does. So for us, connecting with our consumers and using digital marketing, social media is the key to how we'll remain emotionally connected to them.
Correct.
I mean, today, where do you imagine by looking at Facebook, you know what people like and don't like?
Yeah.
And it just kind of gives you so much power to understand what your customers need. And then you put that power in the hands of your associates in the hotels. And I can tell you, when you check in, they'll know as much about you as you want them to know.
Oh, really?
And they will hopefully then tailor-make the experience you have in the hotel. So today, I mean, just to digress a bit, personalization is all about that. It's only when you emotionally connect. I mean, you could be on a visit to a hotel where you're busy, hectic work, and you don't want to see people. You want to quickly get into your room and out. So when you have seamless check-ins and being able to use your smartphone to open your doors, you say, wow. There might be time you're on leisure, traveling with family, you want the fuss and you want people to recognize you, you can do that too. So today, personalization is about seeing what experience is Chaiti looking for, how much do I know about her, and how can I tailor-make that experience for her. That's personalization today.
Right.
And that's how you bring about this whole emotional connect with your consumers.
All right, on that note, let's take a quick break right here on TeeTime. On the other side, we talk about the premium brands that Starwood brings to India. That is the W and the St. Regis as well. And we also talk about the Starwood Preferred Guest program as well. Take a break. We will see you on the other side. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on TeeTime. We're still in conversation with the Managing Director of Starwood India and Regional Vice President for South Asian Markets, Dilip Puri. Now, Dilip, where we really left off was talking about St. Regis and W making a foray into India in a big manner. I believe they're launching in Bombay as well.
Well, we'll open our first W in Goa.
Right.
Next year, and yes, indeed, we have plans to bring the St. Regis brand. Is yet so it's a little early to comment because
right.
We make public announcements only when we've executed deals.
Absolutely.
But we're seeing some.
Absolutely, I understand that.
We're seeing some amazing traction with both the brands in India, and it comes back to your earlier question that how will people connect with our brands when they have a St. Regis to use
right.
in Mumbai, when they have a W retreat to go to in Goa and they experience those brands, I can promise you they'll go looking for those brands and those experiences in whichever markets we have hotels.
Right.
We have some of our most loyal SPG members choose destinations based on hotels rather than choosing the destination first and then the hotel. And that's kind of the power of what such iconic hotels can be. So
absolutely.
if it's the St. Regis in New York or the new St. Regis in Bali,
Right.
or if it's the W in Maldives,
Right.
the W in Hong Kong, the W in Barcelona. These are iconic hotels. I know of people who ask me that, hey, tell us when you can get us rooms at the W Barcelona. We'll plan our trip around that. So that's really the emotional connect, if you like, which our brands
That we
already
were
have
talking
with
about
customers.
as well. Yes.
And so very excited to be able to bring those brands into India as well.
St. Regis is also associated as a sporting brand, and so is the Westin, of course, because you have Gaganjeet Bhullar, who is the brand ambassador for Westin, and you all are focusing on golfing resorts on that front. And with St. Regis, a lot of attention to polo as well as a sport.
Indeed, indeed. Polo is the sport associated with the St. Regis brand, and
Right.
we do a lot of activity around polo globally.
Sure.
Including a lot of our CSR work also happens around polo. And so, as and when the brand is launched in India, I think you're going to see a lot more emphasis and focus on polo, even from Starwood.
Let's go over the other portfolio or from Starwood itself. We've got a Loft and you've got 4 Points Sheraton as well that you have some added focus on from Starwood's end. The latter, I believe, is supposed to be a developer's darling in your own words, if I'm not mistaken. Why?
So, firstly, it's positioned in the right market for
Right.
India at that entry 4-star level, where I think the domestic demand is really
Yeah.
going to grow. It's a very flexible brand, so therefore allows us lots of conversion opportunities,
Right.
and is delivered in the market. So we're seeing a lot of traction from developers, both doing new hotels and people who want to convert their hotels, where they look at 4 Points, because it also has the halo of Sheraton because of
Right.
the association with the name.
Right.
And then Aloft's really interesting because we've just opened our newest Aloft last month in Bangalore on the Outer Ring Road, and I would urge anyone to go and take a look. So it's our tagline for the brand is different by design.
Right.
It's got a very youthful, chic, stylish, tech-friendly
Absolutely.
kind of a look and feel. And I think we're going to see a lot more traction on Aloft.
Yeah.
After the Bangalore hotel, we've got some amazing reviews for the brand and a lot more interest from developers as well. And really, the future with so much more domestic travel happening in India, both for business and leisure, the 4-star space is a very important part of our strategy as well. While we keep talking about our luxury brands, which we will bring in and we will activate more and more, but a huge amount of our focus remains on 4 Points and Aloft as well.
So now you spoke about 4-star being one of the very important parts of your portfolio as well. But, within the 4-star space, there are a lot of incumbents right there who might be giving you quite a bit of a tough battle.
So that is the case, but I think that space is big enough for a lot more
Right.
players to be there.
So there is that much of demand. on that
I think there's just more and more growing demand when you talk about tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 markets.
Right.
Those markets will take these kind of hotels. They're not going to take luxury hotels.
Right.
So I think there's going to be space for a lot more, but I think there'll be a lot more consolidation there as well.
Sure.
I was talking earlier about domestic brands converting to international brands. Last year you heard about Ista becoming Hyatt.
Yes.
So that's trending towards more people in this space wanting to have affiliations or agreements with international brands. So there will be consolidation in that space as well, and I think we're again better placed to exploit that opportunity when it happens.
Okay, so staying with Aloft and 4 Points by Sheraton, which caters to, of course, the youth. Now, when you cater to the youth, people in that segment, of course, are very techno-savvy today with the apps and smartphones on the rise and mobile banking and whatnot. I think you are also one of the first to pioneer the concept of keyless check-in as well. Let's go over that a little bit. And how much traction are you seeing through mobile bookings at Starwood compared to the the traditional way of booking a hotel?
A couple of years ago, we bet big on mobile technology.
Right.
Within all the internet technologies, online technologies coming in, Starwood at that time took the call that the biggest will be mobile.
Right.
And we're seeing that decision validated now because already close to half of our overall online business is
Right.
coming through mobile web.
Right.
So we were amongst the pioneers again when we brought out the apps, the first apps for
Correct.
SPG, for our
Correct.
brands. Today, when you use our apps to reserve a room and to check into your hotel, you automatically become or find an opportunity to use technologies like the seamless check-in in the room,
Right.
where, as I said, the whole concept is based on a barcode reader being generated by your smartphone when you check in through the phone, which coupled with the RFID device in the lock basically allows your phone to be your key.
Very
And moving
interesting.
forward, the same phone will have options to become a lot more of your remote gadgets in the room, from televisions to air conditioning to lighting to room service, all of that. So the opportunity with mobile technology is enormous. And I think we've been ahead of the curve. We took the risk earlier, and we're already beginning to reap the benefits of that investment. And you talked about the younger generation. I can't think of a kid 6 years and above who doesn't carry a phone. And I think more and more of them are carrying smartphones.
Sure.
Actually, I don't think there's anybody in Generation Y who would even think of buying a normal phone which is not a smartphone. The more you give them to do with it, the more you'll emotionally connect with it, as I said. So for us, using technology to enable our associates to emotionally connect with our customers, big part of our strategy.
Now coming back to you, let's digress a little bit, but talk about you now as a person. In the year 1984, when you decided you wanted to be a hotelier, and when you entered in the year 1984, friends and family, I believe, mocked you, saying that you were about to go on to becoming a waiter, only to 30 years later for you to be one of the finest hoteliers this part of the world can see. How was that journey like in the start, really? I mean, we know you today. What were you like back then?
So thank you for those kind words. Greatest hoteliers, I'm not so sure. The jury's probably still out on that. But no, I think I have called myself an accidental hotelier as well. So, having enjoyed university life, I was typically of that generation who wasn't yet ready to work and wanted to continue to have fun in college life. But my father, being a good Air Force officer, pretty much said that this is it, now go and find yourself a job. And somebody in my family in those days was in the hotel business. I would tease him. And he challenged me and said, you try and get into the Oberoi School program, and then let's see how good you are. And he told my dad, if he gets into it, then don't force him to join. It should be his choice.
Right.
And so when I did get into it, my dad being dad said, well, now you better start. So that's how I became a hotelier. And seriously, I mean, I often ask myself, do I have regrets? Clearly not. The industry is evolved. It's today actually a preferred choice of employment for people looking at careers. We see that a lot in our company as well, where when I go around to college campuses to recruit people, I see that the traditional medicine, engineering, lawyer piece does not appeal to 99% of the kids of India today. And when you offer alternate careers, when you talk about companies like Starwood with our very sexy lifestyle brand approach, it's very exciting. So for me, I mean, I have to say that the journey is being amazing. It's hopefully a journey I expect to continue for some more time. And all in all, absolutely no regrets. But I know a follow-up question is typically, if not
a hotelier. I was about to ask you that, because you said, okay, I'm a hotelier accidentally. So if not a hotelier, then what?
So without really trying to pay you a compliment, honestly, I have to say I would love to have been a television anchor if I wasn't a hotelier.
I'd lose my job in that case, for sure.
Great putt.
Thank you. Thank you so much on that wonderful note to join me on the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Likewise, thank you for taking time out. But that is a wrap from me, Chaiti Narula, on this week's episode of Tea Time. I will see you next week again. Until then, enjoy the flight of a good drive. Take care.